where do you want to start?
I have a number of key policies, because as we've seen over the past decade, the current mayor has failed in Lucian. I'm the best candidate. That's what makes me different.
Hello Duwayne, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good, welcome to the Journey Online.
Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. It's a pleasure to finally host you. I've wanted to host you since I was about, 13 or so. Obviously I didn't have the equipment, the funds to buy the equipment, none of it, but I've always wanted to speak to you, so I'm really glad that you're here with me today.
My pleasure.
The reason why I've invited you here is because I want to know more about you, and I'm sure plenty of people do. Like, I recently watched a documentary that you covered on the BBC. We'll talk about that in detail a little bit more later on. But what it is that naturally, when people hear your name, right, it's always linked to your late friend Stephen. And we don't know much about you personally. So I want to know more about you. I want to start from the genesis of Duwayne Brooks. So let's start. First, obviously your name is Duwayne. Do you have a nickname? Do any of your friends have a nickname for you?
No, just Duwayne.
You've gone through life without a nickname?
Yes.
I have about 10.
Maybe because you're more popular than me.
Wow. Yes, this is true. No, I'm joking. I'm completely joking. I'm sure that's not the case. I gave myself most of my nicknames. So, throughout school, what were you like?
Just a normal young black teenager who, looking back now, did not appreciate the importance of education.
Okay.
I believe I could have worked much more harder if I had had the proper guidance and support.
Mm-hmm. From who? Do you mean teachers? I don't know, mentors, family?
Mentors, family, friends, just general adults, people who were around me who had been through the school system already and themselves were finding it difficult to get jobs. I felt they could have given me a bit more advice and support and encouragement and let me know that education is part of the most important start if you want a great start in life.
Absolutely. I picked up on something you said. You said you were a normal black boy.
Yes.
Why do you think it's important to highlight that? Because you highlighted your race. You could have just been a normal boy.
Because at school,
yes,
and I think it's the same now depending on where your school is, that you are treated in a different way because of your skin colour. I don't think I noticed it much at primary school, but at secondary school it was clear to see.
Thank you for that. You were born to Jamaican parents. This I know. Did you grow up with a lot of siblings? Are you an only child? What kind of household did you grow up in?
There was my younger brother and then a younger sister came along. I grew up in Deptford, in South East London. And then we moved to Grove Park, and then at Grove Park I just had enough of living at home and I moved out at 16 because I was fed up of washing dishes.
Is that really the reason?
Yes.
Great. When I was younger and I didn't wash dishes, my mum would leave them on my bed. And that's maybe a story for another time. So I know that you went to Blackheath Bluecoat Church of England School.
Yes.
And then you went on to study engineering at college. And now you're working as an engineer.
Yes.
So you've managed to fulfill your dreams, basically.
Well, my dream was to be a satellite engineer,
Okay.
fixing satellites that go into space. I never really got anywhere
Near.
near that. But I did do engineering at Lewisham College.
Okay.
I first started off in Woolwich, actually, and then doing BTEC, and then I moved to Lewisham and did City and Guilds 224, fixing black and white TVs, and then colour TVs, and then VHS. And once I'd done that, I was walking past a classroom and I saw photocopiers. And I said, I want to be able to fix those, photocopiers and printers. And then I went back and completed the course on office equipment maintenance, which was printers, faxers, photocopiers. And then I went on a Prince's Trust trip to Wales, and when we got back they had these careers day.
Okay.
Where you found employers, and I found up an employer and they said come on down, so I did.
And that's where your career began?
And that's how it all started, in photocopy.
Really?
Yes.
That's incredible. Not many people experience the same kind of opportunity, so that's amazing for you.
Well, it had to generate the opportunity in the outset, and what made it easier for me to be employed was because of the work I'd done around City and Guilds, the training, the expertise that I developed.
Okay. Although you said that you didn't have much guidance throughout school, eventually it all worked out, right?
Well, after Steve was murdered, the decision was that I have to be successful, because if I wasn't, then it would be, we knew that there were two black boys up to no good. To this day, they cannot say that.
I'm glad to hear that. As you mentioned Stephen, well, you refer to him as Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Did you meet at college or at school?
At school. The background to that was his uncle was my mum's partner's best friend.
Okay.
So I knew that uncle for quite some time, and then during a normal conversation about schooling, it was when I was in what we call now Year 6. He asked what schools I'm going to. I said Blackheath Blue Coats. He said, which Blackheath Blue Coats? I said the one in Charlton. And he said, his nephew is going to be going to there. And on my first day, I met him and we were in the same class.
And that's how it began.
And that's how it all started.
You just clicked, you gravitated towards each other, and that was
All of
that.
us did. There was a group of black boys.
Yeah.
And we were all coming back from similar backgrounds, and we all just stuck together.
That's what usually happens when you come from similar backgrounds or cultures. You gravitate towards each other. It happens. It's the norm, even though many people may not, want to say that it is. What was he like as a friend?
Just a normal friend. Everyone, well, what was he like? Well, what are you like with your friends today? And that's it.
I don't have many, so,
Yeah. I don't know why. But
I know I'm amazing, right? I should have loads of friends, but this isn't about me.
But our friendship was just like any other friendship. At the time, there was a group of us who were quite popular through the school, and Steve was one of them.
Was he quite quiet? Was he reserved? Was he boisterous, outgoing, outspoken?
No, he would be more on the quiet side.
Okay.
But he would still be involved in some of the rowdy things that we did. And at that time, WWF was quite popular, wrestling. And we used to do a lot of fighting in the class.
Okay. We all had something we used to do in school, and, it's just all a part of growing up, isn't it? Now, I don't really want to go into much detail about the day that such a horrific event occurred, because you shouldn't have to constantly relive it. In your personal life, I'm sure you do, because that's what we do as humans. But I do want to ask you this. I go on my instinct and intuition, right? Like, for example, sometimes you may be walking down a street and there are two directions you can take. Your instinct may tell you to avoid one and take the other. Does that ever happen to you?
Yes.
Right. So if you look back on that day, at any point, did your instinct tell you to take another route, to take another, if you can recall, did your instinct tell you to take another route, another direction, or not go out on that day? Because stuff like that happens to me. So I want to know if it did happen to you on that day, and whether you did or didn't listen to it.
The voice was, and the feeling was, that this isn't the right way to go. But I was following my friend home.
Yeah.
And on that basis, it was, this is the way he wanted to go, so I'm going to follow him.
Okay.
If it was me personally, then I wouldn't have gone that way. I would have taken the longer route, but he wanted to go that way, and it was my duty to follow my friend that way.
I absolutely understand that. Based on that, now do you listen to your instinct?
Sometimes.
Not all the time.
No.
It does happen. Why? Why not?
Because sometimes it's wrong.
You think so?
Yes.
You said that sometimes your instinct can be wrong, so you don't always follow it.
No.
Fair enough. I'm guilty of not always following it as well, and when I choose not to follow it, I usually end up in some sort of trouble, so maybe I should try and follow it some more. Yourself?
No. That doesn't happen to me.
That hasn't happened to
No,
you?
it doesn't.
It doesn't? Okay, so you just make good decisions and you just follow through with them.
It's very difficult to know if your decision's a good one, because you don't know what happens if you made the decision in a different way.
This is true.
But if the outcome is good, you can assume that was the right decision. But then the outcome could have been better in
But you never
occasions,
know.
But you never know.
Just take the risk and hope for the best.
I don't do hope.
Do you do faith?
No.
What do you do? Common sense?
I do logic.
Fair enough. Fair enough. During the investigation, I remember this from years ago. My mum, my dad, my siblings used to talk about it a lot. It seems as though you were targeted, like people wanted to pin things on you, whether they wanted to brand you a rapist or a drug addict. They just wanted to make it seem as though you were a criminal. Who were your support system during that time? Because during something like that, you would need a very strong support system.
I had friends and family, naturally, and some support groups that were there. But the majority of the support comes from within. And it's that feeling of, you're not going to pin any of these on me because I'm innocent. There's no way on this earth that you're going to beat me. And that was my mindset, because I always knew that if they were able to defeat me, then it would be the two black boys. And that is what they were after. There was nothing on Steve, and they had nothing on me, yet we were still attacked. Steve was murdered because of our skin colour in one of the most safest cities in the world.
Would you still say it's a safe city?
Yes.
Okay.
If you compare it to other cities around the world,
Yeah,
then we are.
definitely. Definitely. Let's move on. You were awarded an OBE in 2015, I believe,
Yes.
based on your campaign work.
Politics, youth work, engagement, the whole shebang.
Are you still involved in all of that?
I try to be, but there are lots of other people, i.e. mentors,
Yeah.
people who support young people, who are far more better at me than doing it.
You think so?
Yes.
The thing is, I believe that each person, based on their experiences, can inspire any one person or even a group of people. So although you may think that the mentors are more experienced or better, your life, your story, your experiences, aside from
Yes,
the
I
traumatic
agree. So
experience
I
you've
have
been
those
through, you can
experiences that I can
encourage
speak
others.
about.
Yeah.
But if we're talking on a day-to-day basis of support, week-to-week basis, then there are other people who are much better at me at doing that.
Okay, I understand that. Okay, let's move on to Lady Lawrence, because that's what she's known as now. A source I read stated that Lady Lawrence blamed you for the death of Stephen. How accurate is that? Because we know that a lot of tabloids enjoy sensationalism, so it might not be accurate at all.
I haven't read the Telegraph, so I don't know. But if it is in the Telegraph, I think it's fair to say that as a mother who was grieving, then she probably would have said lots of things.
Oh, definitely.
That she wouldn't say today. Generally, any parent. And I think the saddest thing about all of this is that other people should have done more to ensure that both myself and the Lawrence family were working as one.
I agree. And not against each other, as they made it seem.
Mm-hmm.
I met you at number 10 Downing Street a few weeks ago, and I was there with other advocates because we did some work with the Home Office and an organisation called Catch 22. And they created this pilot called the Knife Free campaign. I don't know if you've heard about it.
No.
There've been adverts and posters. You'll see them up pretty much everywhere very, very soon. So being in the midst of some really influential people was amazing. It was a great experience. I had the opportunity to network with a lot of people. Based on reports, the media, the tabloids, most of the knife crime committed, or that takes place in the UK, is committed by young boys, young black boys.
In London?
In London. In London, sorry, not in the UK. In London, it's committed by young black boys. If that's the case, the kind of people that should be working to clamp down on it are people that maybe come from a similar background, that understand the reasons why these boys engage in knife crime. Would you agree or disagree?
Firstly, do we actually know the reasons?
The advocates I worked with work with young boys who are involved, young boys and young girls who are involved in knife crime. They have also come from a similar background. So I would say they probably know the majority of the reasons why.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know who's working with who. What I do know is that when we do have an unfortunate death or murder, because these young people are killing each other, there is always a charity at the end of it. And I've noticed that over the years that the families who are grieving, they want something in their child's name, which is fair.
Absolutely.
I just think that everyone's efforts would have a greater effect if we all work together.
Absolutely. I agree with you, because I think that if, say for example, some of these advocates, if they were to work closely with some of the people I met, there could be a really great impact. So I was asking you that because you attend a lot of governmental meetings, I guess, and events, and I wanted to know if you see much diversity or if you heard about knife campaigns being discussed or anything like that.
There's always diversity in those meetings, people from all different backgrounds.
Okay.
That's a given. What you don't know is the impact of their work in the communities that they operate in. And it's very difficult to find out because when you ask them, they're not going to say to you, well, we're failing.
No, of course not.
So it's very difficult.